All right, let's jump right into this incredible story from 2 Kings. It's a really short account, but man, it is packed with everything. You've got a life-saving prophecy, a massive 7-year famine, a desperate appeal to a king, and it all comes down to the most unbelievable, jaw-dropping timing. This is a story about faith, it's about power, and it's about one of those moments where history and miracles just collide.
And that's really what this whole thing boils down to, right? We're about to walk through a story where timing is absolutely everything. And it really makes you wonder, are some moments just too perfect to be chalked up to random chance?
So our story kicks off with a familiar face. If you've been following along in 2 Kings, it's the Shunammite woman. Now, she's already been at the center of one of the prophet Elisha's biggest miracles. And now she gets another message from him. This time, it's a life-altering warning that's going to test her faith all over again.
Now, what's so interesting here is the language. The famine isn't just predicted. The text says it's been called for. In this worldview, huge events like a famine aren't just random acts of nature. Nope, they're decreed, they're summoned by divine authority. It really highlights this belief in total sovereignty over everything, the climate, the crops, and history itself.
And that number, 7 years, that should ring a bell, right? It echoes other biblical patterns, probably most famously the story of Joseph back in Egypt. But get this, it wasn't just a symbolic number. Historians know that prolonged severe droughts were a real possibility in the Levant right around this time, in the 9th century BC. So this prophecy is deeply rooted in a very real historical possibility.
So you get this devastating 7-year forecast hanging over your head. What do? Well, what this woman does next is immediate and it's decisive. It's a perfect example of what faith looks like when it's put into action, and this one choice is what sets the entire rest of the story in motion.
She doesn't hesitate, no second guessing, no asking for more proof, she just packs up and goes. And this is a huge contrast to some of the skeptical officials we see in other parts of 2 Kings. Her immediate obedience, her choice to just act on the word she was given, becomes the first major turning point of this whole story.
And she didn't just pick a place at random. She heads to the land of the Philistines, and this was a really smart strategic move. The Philistines, they controlled the coastal plain, which gave them much better access to Mediterranean trade and resources. That made their whole region way more resilient to the kind of famine that would have just wiped out inland farming areas like her hometown of Shunem. It was a logical, safe place for a refugee to go to wait out the storm.
All right, so fast forward 7 years. The famine ends just like Elisha said it would, and the woman returns home. But the crisis isn't over, not by a long shot. Her journey for survival is about to become a fight for justice.
You have to understand, this was a common problem back then. In ancient Israel, land wasn't just property, it was everything. It was tied to your family's inheritance, your identity, your covenant. But if you were gone for a long time, your land could be seized or just given to someone else. So she comes back, not to a happy homecoming, but to finding out she's lost everything.
So what does she do? The text says she goes to cry unto the king. And that doesn't just mean she went to go weep in front of him. No, this phrase meant something specific. It was a formal legal appeal. She's kicking off an official process, taking her case to the highest court in the land to demand her ancestral property rights back. And this is where the story just gets absolutely wild. You have 2 completely separate events happening at the exact same time, and they are on a collision course right inside the king's palace. The timing is so perfect, it's almost hard to believe.
I mean, just put yourself in her shoes for a second. There are no paper deeds, no digital records, nothing like that. It's basically her word against whoever's living on her land now. So how on earth is she going to prove her case and convince the king to step in? The odds are completely stacked against her.
Okay, so picture this. Inside the king's court, the king of Israel, was probably Jehoram, is totally captivated. He's asking Elisha's servant, a guy named Gehazi, to tell him all the stories about the prophet's incredible miracles. The king is just fascinated by this source of spiritual power in his kingdom. At that very same moment, outside the gate, the Shunammite woman and her son show up to plead their case. 2 parallel stories about to crash into each other.
And boom, this is the moment. Can you even imagine being in that room? Just as Gehazi gets to the climax of his story, the part where Elisha raised a boy from the dead, that exact woman and that exact boy walk into the court. It's just an impossible coincidence. Gehazi doesn't even have to finish his sentence. He can just point and say, "My lord, O king, this is the woman and this is her son, the one Elisha brought back to life." The story gets living, breathing proof at the precise second it's being told.
So that's the key, right there. The child himself becomes the evidence. He's Exhibit A.
His very presence connects a miracle from the past to a legal case in the present. He's this physical symbol of divine intervention that proves her whole story is true and authenticates her claim to the land.
I mean, what can the king even say to that? He's stunned. The proof is undeniable. It's literally standing right in front of him. And his response isn't just to give the woman what she asked for. Oh no. He goes way beyond simple justice. He delivers a judgment that is just extraordinarily abundant.
So let's break down what he orders. First, he appoints an officer, which makes this an official state matter. Second, he restores her land. She gets her property back. But it's this third step that is just staggering. He orders the restoration of all the profits. All the produce, all the income her land generated for the entire 7 years she was gone has to be given to her.
This isn't just giving her stuff back. You could call it compound restoration. She's not just compensated for her loss, she's given back the full accumulated value her land produced for 7 years. It's like getting your farm back plus 7 years of back pay you missed out on. It just shows that the goal here was never mere survival for her, but a complete and abundant restoration.
And that really brings us right to the heart of this whole account, doesn't it? It's a story that flows perfectly from a prophetic warning to a faithful act of obedience, which leads to preservation through a crisis. And it all culminates in this moment of perfect divine timing that unlocks not just justice, but incredible abundance. It really leaves us with this powerful thought that faithful obedience can turn a prophecy of crisis into an incredible provision.